Everybody set?
I got it.
Okay.
Glenn.
There we are.
Oh, yes, and he's gonna
I am
do it like
calling
this.
this meeting of the Nantucket Historic District Commission to order. It is 1:06 on Thursday, February 23rd. Present are John McLaughlin, Stephen Welch, Diane Coombs, Val Oliver, Matthew Kuhnert, Abby Camp, Christine Glazer, and myself, Ray Pohl. Wow.
Everybody's here.
That's like amazing
I know.
for a Thursday.
Woohoo!
Holy crow. Okay.
You want me to go?
We're not gonna change here. Let's see, I think the first order of business is to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you very much.
Except, Mr. Hedden, did you include on this agenda today one, applications that we did not hear on Tuesday? That I had said hold till the end, until for representation? Remember, there were three of them, I think.
Yeah.
They're on here.
They're on
here?
They're on the second page.
Okay, excellent.
Bartlett and those guys were at sort of the front of the
Then I'll
agenda.
make
Sauros, yeah, they're on the back.
Then my motion is to approve the agenda.
Great. So, all those in favor of Christine's motion to approve the
Aye.
agenda? Aye. Okay?
And I get to go first.
All right.
Be careful.
Sorry. Any public comment? Hearing none. And I will also say that if you're planning to record this meeting, please let us know in advance. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're allowed to record it, but it's, believe it or not, you know what that's for? RICO. The federal law about wiretapping. You
This
have
is an old business.
So, Mr. Chairman, the sitting board is Paul, Coombs, Camp, Kuhnert, and Welch.
Oops, never mind.
I think you were away.
Sorry, no.
That's okay.
Thank you.
So the last time we looked at this, there were some comments from HSAB, Fred, and everybody had their input. And primarily, as I heard it, because I didn't get any minutes on this when I resubmitted, they weren't done yet. That's not a criticism, it's just an observation. The west side, they wanted a break in the ridge line of the main roof again, like I had in the first approval. So I did that. The roof over the front door to be shed instead of the pip like I had. I added a window in the middle of that gable, which I think actually helps a lot.
It does.
And then to reduce the French doors on the south, which I do not believe can be seen, but I did anyway. Instead of 4 doors across, I did 2 doors with side lights. And then on the left east elevation, to reduce the triple French door to a double. And I think that was it.
So some of the bubbles that we're looking at on this are actually left over from
Yeah,
previous revisions.
from the submission that I had initially, because they still have to be approved.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Val, did you do anything to that shed on the east, on the second floor?
Not since the last time.
Okay, it's just
That
wondering.
was a comment from the first time around.
Yeah,
Right.
just wondering. Sorry, I'm not even on this. Hang on, will you all get down now?
Diane, are you ready?
Yep,
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Really heavy because I think it looks great. I think those French doors on the south elevation with the side lights is great. The windows have come out of that south elevation, but you can't see that anyway.
Right.
So that's all right. I just added the windows where we've asked. I see no I see no problem with it at the moment.
Okay. And if you do later, I'll come back to you. Matthew?
Oh, I appreciate the changes, and have no further comment.
Okay.
Ditto.
How about you, Abby?
I'm
You're good?
with it too. Did you?
Stephen?
I support the rest of the comments that were already made.
Great. I think that we're good to go here.
I need a motion.
No.
Motion to approve as submitted?
Very good. Thank you, Diane, and all those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That was unanimous. Great.
So the next one has been held for quite some time because the last time we looked at this, there was some concerns about some of the work we were doing. We had applied to lift this up and put a foundation under it, and I had asked to hold for more information, which took months to get, but essentially, we're not gonna lift this up.
I thought we had already approved the not lifting it up.
No, it's been on hold, because
Okay.
yeah.
All
So all that's gonna happen to the front of that building is that there'll be some interior structural stuff done, but that will be by hand. And with regard to the back, we do wanna put a new foundation under,
Val, I'm going to interrupt you just
Okay.
for a second, just so that we can be clear on who the board is. Since it's
okay.
Sitting is from September 13th, 2016.
Great.
Glazer, Coombs, McLaughlin, Cole, and Camp.
Okay. Sorry.
This is the music,
Sorry?
this is the music building.
No.
No. It's across
on
the
the other
street,
side of
further
the street.
down. Further
This
down.
Down by the American
Closer to
Seasons,
American
yeah.
Seasons,
I
across
know,
the street.
yeah.
on the hill going up towards a church.
Right. So, so to recap, there will be no change in the front at all, except for some interior stuff that doesn't pertain to you guys. With regard to the back, because of the constraints of this site, how close it is to the house next door and the building behind it, we would like to, and the amount of work being done on that back wing, we'd like to dismantle it. They're gonna put the foundation in without a cord situation, you know, because the equipment is hard to fit in there. And then we'll do the addition and reuse as much of the original material as possible. Because we're adding up and out two different directions, so essentially, what are we saving? But we'll reuse the windows and stuff.
Now, what's the age of the building?
Well, I happen to have this report that I brought again, that Matthew did.
This is
Yeah,
Washington.
exactly.
Originally 1790, that's the front. Matthew actually could probably sum it up.
Speaking of which, do we have HSAB on this?
Originally we
A
did.
long time ago.
Or hopefully, yeah, because this is basically a reconstruction.
Yeah, and we had the addition approved.
Correct.
This was just an application for originally a new foundation. Do you want me to pass this around?
No, this is Camellia.
Yeah.
Here.
This is Center Street.
This is from September.
Yes.
Oh, well, hold on. Matthew prepared this report.
Yeah.
So I think that if,
He can't remember though,
Why
probably
don't
that
you just go then?
Well, I prepared this,
a long time ago.
right, I didn't prepare it for
No,
the
this was in
HTC, I prepared it
preparation.
for the client.
Right.
So,
just to be clear on this, Matthew is not sitting on this project, so he's speaking as the,
Historian.
as a consultant for the
Correct.
client. So the main dwelling was built circa 1790, and there originally were two rear additions on this property.
Right.
Because it was a
And
double house,
they,
right?
correct, and they were both present by 1833. And then on this particular rear addition, there were significant changes to it. Between 1904 and right after 1904. There were also changes to it in the years prior to that. Yeah, but between 1904 and 1909, there was a major renovation campaign that altered the appearance of the rear of the property. And the form, basically, of what is existing mostly dates to 1909. The second WART that no longer exists was removed from the property at that time. And it's likely that building fabric from that previous WART was reused to enlarge the existing WART on the south side.
Was it always a 5-bay, or did it get added on to either side of the center of the house?
I don't, I'm not aware of any evidence that it was added to on either side. Not to say that it wasn't, but I'm not aware of any changes.
What does the photo on the front page date to?
Let's see. Between 1880 and 1889.
Okay, so in 1888, then the house was a 5-bay.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's pretty old.
But I mean, from 1790,
Yeah.
it just happens to look exactly like my house on Lily Street, and across the street, it's the same house, but they sort of Georgianized it, balanced it out. And it looks like the same thing, so I was just wondering if you could tell from the foundation if they had added to one side or the other.
And
Well, a lot of it you can't even get under because it's just rubble.
yeah, Matt, on these drawings, there's a thing that says the northwest corner post of the settlement of the late Samuel Stubbs. Who was
That
Samuel
was on the
Stubbs, do you know?
survey. Where is that?
It's down in the bottom left-hand thing where that private way is, Asphalt Drive. There's a little note.
Settlement of the late Samuel Stubbs.
Huh.
That's interesting.
Well, it's some
Isn't
kind
it?
of a marker of,
Yeah, I think it's some kind of boundary marker that was used for surveying purposes.
Because the drain pipe seems to end there, if that, anyway, it was sort of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
It looks like that used to be the edge of the street. It says 1840 line of Center, line of Center Street. So Center Street used to run much closer to this house than it
To
does
the
now.
houses,
Yeah.
so just for clarification, Val,
Mm-hmm.
essentially you're coming back to us with something that we've already approved in terms
Yeah.
of the addition, but you're just informing the board that you're not going to be lifting the house at all.
Not lifting the front at all, but we
Okay.
would like to put a foundation under the rear.
Right.
So the critical thing here is they want to dismantle the single-story piece,
The
the
L.
rear L, and
Keep-
reassemble it.
Right.
And,
And if you look at where I've sort of
but
shaded.
you also want to lift it, you want to raise the roof of the rear. area.
Right, and that was already approved
Right.
by this board.
Right.
But essentially, the amount of fabric that we're keeping, I think, it's easier for us to keep it intact if we can gingerly take the windows, take the door, whatever interior beams or things like that are available, rather than
So you're
leave
gonna-
it in place and try to lift it up and put the foundation and then take it apart to put the second floor on, you know what I mean?
And have you talked to Toscana yet?
Yeah.
Okay, and does he say that that's pretty feasible? Because it sounds an awful lot to me like what they're doing on,
Next door?
no, you know, the house by, David,
yeah.
downtown, you know.
Oh,
Pine Street.
Judith Chase?
Judith Chase. It
Yeah.
sounds like what's happening on
Yeah.
that road.
So it's an
also.
attempt to keep what we can. I'm just afraid it's not gonna work otherwise.
Uh-huh.
But
So,
you're going
and
to-
your intention is to put all the windows
Yeah,
back?
yep,
And the door,
yeah,
and the foundation is gonna be what?
concrete.
Is there a foundation under that little wart
It's
now?
on the dirt.
Dirt.
So there's no rubble showing on it?
No, in the front there is.
Right.
There's plenty.
Look at the grade, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
like
dead
just a
flat.
sliver of
Yeah.
foundation showing.
Right. Well, you know, in light of, for me, in light of the fact that there has been, it seems over the years, activity on this rear L, I feel that this applicant is very aware of the age and special nature of this house, and that they're going to great lengths to maintain the appearances of this home, and just, I have no
She's
problem.
very,
She's very conscious of
yeah.
that, I know that, and there, I think, working on the rear L, and lifting it is not a problem for me, in light of the fact that they'll be reusing some materials. I wonder, have you documented exactly how many doors and windows on that rear L are,
I did that on the original application, but I can certainly do it again.
well, just so, you know, we can keep track, like, for instance, there are 6 windows and 3 doors.
Yep,
That will be,
yep, I can do that.
I think that would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay.
And that way, you know, in the event that someone calls us in the summertime and says, oh my gosh, have you seen what's happened to that house? We can say, yes, we know, there are 6 doors and
Nope,
3
we
doors and 6
certainly can
windows.
do that. Yep.
Abby, you ready to go now?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're only addressing the foundation, but I'm actually very sorry to see this house get this new addition, but it's already been approved, so.
Has been.
It has
Yeah.
been.
That's all I have to say.
I'm sorry, you said, was that it?
That's it.
Okay. How about you, Diane?
That's it. I would just add a little check thing to go along with Abby's, is if you could talk her into putting a chimney back there.
Yeah. So, see, there's an
Oh, yeah.
existing
Right,
chimney.
which basically got annexed by the,
But in that photograph where you see the wart and stuff, it, I don't know, because I didn't look, but it follows the chimney in the house next to it, and it just,
Can we assume, maybe, Matthew, that that chimney might have gotten built around the early 1900s? Or is it
well,
older than that?
It's just for a furnace right now.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
existing chimney is a modern chimney, but it
Okay.
seems to be in a location that where there had been a historic chimney.
it's modern, like, what, because usually they use,
You guys
Chimneys
already
with-
approved it going.
yeah, I know, I
Okay.
just said,
Yeah, we just want to make sure, so Val, I just personally want to make sure that the old windows are used.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's
gonna
gonna
provide
catalog
us
it.
with
Yeah.
an
She's gonna
inventory.
catalog it.
Yeah.
The client is gonna be required
And
to
old
catalog
doors,
it.
I mean, there's a beautiful old door there with a transom that
Yeah.
would be nicely incorporated into your new
windows, yeah.
design as well.
John?
Yes. Tell us
Yes.
where the air conditioner's gonna go.
I have no idea.
Okay, all right, you didn't apply for them yet, all right.
Nope.
My other question is no bulkhead, you can't get out of the cellar other than coming upstairs.
Correct. Right.
No access from the outside.
No.
My question was,
that's the way it was.
All right,
It's not going to be livable space. It's just for.
sounds like we're okay with the,
Incorporate that
with
into
the
impact of
rebuilding of the
consider that for
the existing part of the rear L, provided that you submit to the staff an inventory of the
Okay.
existing windows and doors that are going to be reused. Any further discussion on this, or?
No,
do we
I
have
make a motion to approve
Okay.
with the request of the inventory of the windows and doors.
Okay.
Very good. All those in favor of, oh, sorry, you, or were you going to say something?
hadn't realized this, but this door on the rear part with the transom over it.
Yeah, you guys
Is there
mentioned
any
that.
reason why you didn't want to put that on your back little piece?
No.
So can we make that a condition?
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a reuse of the.
Of a door on the back rear
It was
elevation
right
of the
here.
house that has a transom above it.
Is that a batten door?
A door with transom. Yeah.
I don't know, but it
Can't
would
tell.
look nice there.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, so can we add that to Diane's motion?
Yes. So, and the inventory of the windows and doors and the reuse of the door with the transom, on it.
on the rear L.
Right. Great. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Thanks, Val.
Okay, thank you. Luke, you're up. And I have a feeling I'm not on this. Gull Island? Am I on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
There's a lot of activity.
Have we seen this in a while, Luke?
We saw it about 4 to 6 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Nice.
It is Cole, Coombs, McLaughlin, Glazer, and Oliver.
You might have been in St. John.
Looks like it came from Greece.
It came from Russia.
Oh, yeah. Now
That's made by just a girl, not any factory. Handmade by a girl.
It's 1972. It was in the Beacon in the 80s. Okay, everybody ready for Luke to review the revisions that he's made?
Well, I think I was asked for some greater clarifications in terms of the history, and so I provided a detailed door and window schedule, which is at the back of your pack, which we drew up all the different windows and all the different door and window trims, which are now accurately represented.
You know, it's not in the back. I think it's this.
Yeah.
It's page A 1.5, if I'm not mistaken. Is this it, Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah, existing windows.
Oh, right, existing.
So the idea was that, this in conjunction with that preservation report that we gave you, gives a great deal of history to the building as background information. And then you asked me to identify on our proposal all the different years, so it's clear like what parts of the building were created at different times. So I put dates on. If you look on the little the miniatures up on the left, which are the existing drawings, I put dates on those, so you can kind of see, what it is. So the main mass, I think, was 1775, and like I said before, our main goal here was to give greatest priority to that as the simple mass that was originally there, and now I guess starting at A2.1, I'll say what we're doing again. If you look at A2.1 at the north elevation, what we're proposing to do is to remove on the left-hand side that extended oil bay and put a smaller one. And then we're also proposing on the right-hand side to move the addition that's currently there. We want to put a foundation under it. We're not going to put a new foundation under the main house. We're not going to lift the main house up. We're going to restore the brick and rubble foundation and lift where we need to. But we do want to put a new foundation under this right-hand one-story wing. And I think the date's identified there for you.
1935 to 40.
Yeah. And we're proposing to pretty much put it back exactly as it was without a fireplace, but reuse the existing windows, which I think was something you guys, which I think you would agree would be a nice thing to do. One of the goals here is to provide a heating system And so, you know, the idea would be for having a crawl space under this, we could put some of the mechanicals under this area. Then on the west elevation of A2.1, I'm also, that little one-story wing I was just talking about, I want to shift it off of I'm proposing maybe to shift it off by a foot, off the corner, just to accentuate the corner of the old original building. And then what we're going to do is, you know, we're proposing, just to the right of the main mast, a tall, skinny, two-story mast, which Brian Pfeiffer believes was there originally. And if you look at the, actually it's on the next page, there was a two-story mast there, and what we're doing is proposing it again along, of course it's completely new, along with the one-story mast in the rear. And our goal here was basically to reduce the, you know, was from a conceptual standpoint was to have a lower massing in the back that serves the interior and kind of modern living in that space, but to the whole of the property, it reduces the impact on the property because, you know, it's a one-story element, maybe slightly more so than it was before as a two-story. So then on the next page, on A2.2, you can see on the south elevation, the gable that you're looking at that faces you, that one very similar to that, those lines was there before. And I sort of drew it in as a dotted lines on the south elevation that was existing that shows what we believe was likely to be there before.
When we say before, you have that listed as
Yes.
1800 to
Yeah, well,
1825.
that whole rear element got just layered over and over and over with these different additions, and what was there originally got sort of disappeared. Actually, what I found out after this was it may, because of the rubble, there's like a rubble corner down there. That may have been a one-story coming off that too. But so anyway, you know, the goal is to basically kind of, as I said, sort of simplify the rear mass, which is in serious, is in a real mess. And you know, we did some. You can see here through this. This was done by the survey. We had a survey done of the whole building,
At night?
and it falls. You know, it's really in terrible repair on the back here, and the later additions it's all in concrete block, and we just don't feel like we feel as though the value of that portion in the back really doesn't contribute to the building in any significant way. Our goal is to basically bring it back to a level where it can be, you know, it can be maintained and you know, more truthfully in how it originally was in terms of the simple main mass. And then again, also in the rear, our thought is to put under this new addition in the rear is to put a crawl space and mechanicals again, and so that we can optimize it from a mechanical standpoint. But otherwise, the new windows that we're proposing, we would on the south elevation, for example, on the new additions in the back, you know, we would match similar light sizes and as much as we could. And again, we feel like it's in keeping with what was there before. Our thought, you know, again, going back to the idea of removing that back portion again, and you know, just goes to, I just don't think today what's currently there now would be approvable if I was to bring it and before you. And so that's why when I'm bringing before you is kind of a simpler version, a simpler in-town solution, I think, for the rear of the building.
This is beautiful. Too good for the roof.
Yeah, it was.
almost like it wants to, be a little bit more vertical and step back in pieces.
You know, could accomplish that by making the view this
Yeah.
way, and having little pieces.
I can go first.
Oh, okay. So,
Are you done now, Lou?
Yeah.
okay,
We've done so much work, thank you so much, because this is very helpful, particularly all the window information, thank you. I certainly appreciate your wanting to keep the front of the house, fairly intact. The bump out on the side, you know, I feel that there should be a bump out on the side, because as long as I've known that house, I've always seen a bump out on the side, and it's been sort of an unusual element.
the one on the side.
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
east,
yeah,
yeah. And I don't know if there's any information on how long that's been there, but
It's on there.
It's
what does it say?
1949.
Oh, okay,
I think
well,
that the woman who owned the building owned it for a long, long time, going back that far. And some of these things just got put up,
tacked on.
put in, tacked on. They were, what she said, because she went through the house with Diane.
Okay, well, I am very flexible with regard to that bump out, so I'll defer to the board on that. My big area of concern is in the south elevation, and I know that only pieces of the south elevation are visible. Some of it's visible from Lily, some of it's sort of visible from Center Street as you're going up and down the street. I can see into the backyard a little bit sometimes. But one of the things that concerns me is your new addition. The roof line is longer than the main mass roof line, which I guess, to me, it looks like a longhouse back there. And I feel that you might consider swinging the gable around the other way, so that instead of it facing into the backyard, it's gable facing into the backyard. And that's my main area of concern at the moment, and I'll let the rest of the board share their concerns.
Diane, you ready?
Yeah, I don't know, there's such a lot that has to be done, should be done. Wish we could have it as a work in progress to see how it's going along each time. I think what he has proposed is interesting, because you can't save everything that was put there. And I would, on my old chat, is see if we could possibly save that fireplace that goes off the little L. We're losing them one after the other, and they were a definite addition to buildings that were built in the 1900s, 1890s. I think
The addition is 35.
the reuse of the windows, some of those windows can be the framing is bad, but the window itself is better and could be replaced. I think that the size of the panes of glass on the old part is very interesting. I mean, that's a size we don't see nowadays. And this one, I would like to see those maintained, because I think it gives the building an interesting look to it. Some of them are smaller, but there are definitely some that look like the window itself is able to be repaired. You're going to lose the framing around it.
Hey, Diane,
Yeah.
were you able to see the window inventory in this set of drawings? Mm-hmm. Okay, because he took those windows and he measured them all. So they do show up, on that page right there.
And the size of the different size of the
The
pane.
size of the panes, and we even noticed that there's some detail, rather unique details on the casings. Like the way
Yes.
they're set up, that you don't see anywhere that he's inventory.
Which elevation is this?
See like these little balls?
That triple?
That one.
Oh, yeah, that's on the,
Is that on the little wart?
that's on the, west. That's up, that, the west,
It's still that.
the triple below, and then you got the single window right above it.
Right.
But very
Well, I'd
pretty
like to see
windows.
those, I think those are particularly interesting, these on the west. I'd like to see those reused if at all possible, or else.
But that was your intent, right, to reuse them on the front side?
I can, the windows I'm proposing are slightly bigger than that, slightly taller.
No,
on-
I
on
thought
the-
we were
on the-
reusing the
on the
windows
new-
on the front.
I'm reusing windows on the front mass, but in
Right.
the rear, I'm proposing new
Right.
windows.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to see those somewhere, because I think their size and construction are very interesting.
Okay.
Should be kept.
Is that it for now?
Yeah, it's, what's here and what's out on the street is hard to follow what it's going to look like, but it looks good.
Thanks. John?
Yeah, did you mention this here, is the rear?
Well, this is the section that's cutting through the rear is here.
What wall is this here?
Well, that's a section, so it's cutting, here's the front of the building, and it cuts right through the whole, it's a section that cuts
It's
through the
like
whole
an
house.
X-ray.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking for
So, you know, it just shows, yeah, this rear portion just falls off by about.
One of my questions was you have 5 six-light windows, and there's no description of them being,
Are they fixed or are
Those
they?
are all existing remaining.
Yeah, but how do they work? How do they operate?
right, they're existing, but I'm saying, are they hoppers, or they what are they?
Fixed?
They're not-
I'd have to go in, I didn't go in to check whether or not they were either on little push-out latchings or they were fixed. I'm not sure which.
Well, you know, I don't.
We're
think-
not touching those.
I think, other than being a tilt-out window, tilt them in, or make them fixed, or double hump, 3/3s. I think you get too many of these around that not typical, so, it's like a picture. These are modern, they're the ones in the house are modern.
No, these are all old, John. They're like, those windows there, for example,
He's reusing those.
those are all staying. So those windows there.
Right, but you're gonna refurbish them.
Steve, show him these windows.
This is
He
no
has
description there,
acted
why
on.
didn't you see it?
Oh, yeah, he hasn't seen
Yeah,
this.
we're right here, existing windows to be refurbished, all those.
Yeah,
There's pictures right there, he had the same.
I'm getting there. There you go. So he's gonna refurbish these.
See, this,
Can you see any hardware on this, Steve?
Yeah.
You know, hinges that would indicate which way the swing was or anything?
Well, they definitely don't swing out.
They don't swing out.
yeah, why'd you take it down?
I would guess, you know,
I think they
even the ones that used to be operable are now fixed because they're so difficult.
Very few houses in the overstock area that I consider close to this one, being what I described as the end of the house.
One in front, Mrs.
In it,
Butler.
well,
Would you pass that when you're finished with it?
He's trying to-
is this going back in?
Yep.
I didn't see the plan.
Am I on this?
You are, Val, and I'll get to you in a second.
This one looks like it has a jam casing on the side, and then there's one set that just has plant material on top of it.
Are you looking for the big
Look,
window,
there
John?
was wall, right?
Which one are you looking for?
I think he's looking for this big sort of outswing thing.
Right there in front of me. That's the shame, anyway.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Val, to you.
I think Luke's done a great job, and I'm not sure that the south is really gonna be visible from anywhere. My comment is probably crazy. I would love to see that cantilevered bump out thing stay a little bit larger. And on the east, is there a way to put a window in, the secondary two-story mass? Maybe on the second floor?
Is there a way to do
In that
what,
bump
though?
out?
There's the hierarchy goes,
Oh,
the main
yeah.
mass, then the secondary
Yeah, yeah.
two-story, and then the little gable. I just wondered if it was possible to put a window in either the first or second floor, just in that section.
A little
That's
six-wide
it.
or something.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I make a comment? Please. I don't have any comments on any specific design elements, but I just wanted to say that I think you've done a really great job. I really appreciate your overall approach to the project. The fact that you've been limiting your interventions to the areas that have the least amount of integrity. I think that it's going to be a really successful project.
Thank you. Again, I think Val made the point that this back is probably a very limited visibility, but I too have the concern, just in terms of the way additive masses tend to happen, particularly in the AHD, that the single-story mass, by the way, I appreciate the fact that it's single-story, is, essentially running parallel. The ridge is running parallel to the main ridge, which is kind of atypical. But I do think that if you sort of were able to have part of that be a gable extending perpendicular to the ridge that manifests itself on the south elevation, and then a piece going off to the left-hand side of that you'd have the same, essentially the same space. It just wouldn't look like a long run-on ridge that, as Christine pointed out, is
So turn that one section.
just a section,
Yeah.
so that it, and so come out, it would project out like a rear L
Yep.
does, and then it would have a piece that came off perpendicular
That's
to
a good
that.
idea.
So it wouldn't affect the floor plan at all, it would just affect the look.
Right.
Okay, so I think that's our comments for now, and thanks, it's a very
Could
thorough.
I add something as
Yes,
a
please.
non-board member?
No,
that,
go ahead.
On that east elevation with the bump out, I agree with Val that I think the bigger is better. And I was wondering if you could also put in one of those bigger windows instead of the small one. I don't know what you're doing in there, but just for that whole east side, it would be nice to have the consistency of those 12.
What are you doing in there?
There's very few.
I'm just kidding. Okay, we have a motion.
Motion to hold for some revisions.
Thank you.
Minor.
All those in favor of Christine's motion? Aye.
Thanks.
We'll just track the cottage.
You want to just track it? Okay, so can we have a motion to track the cottage? All those in favor of Diane's motion to track? Aye. Unanimous. Okay, thanks a lot.
Matthew on that one?
What's that? Matthew was not on that one.
All right, so.
Correct. They were just rendering opinions. The next one is, I am recusing from.
How are you? Do you want to start the
I watched it.
Pardon?
Do you want to start the alternation on this one?
Sure.
Wasn't this previously heard?
Yep. Coombs, McLaughlin, Glazer, Oliver, Cooner.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right,
This was the gambrel that I think there were some minor changes that you requested us to make. One was to change the 4-window dormer to 3 windows over the front door. You asked us to space those columns differently.
Yep.
We added a window on the east, and we sort of changed the mudroom entry a little bit. We added a little porch roof. And then the major concern was the decks in the back. So what we did is we ended up shingling some of those, and so that you have less railing. And we also reduced the size of the deck on the west and removed the columns. So we did our calculation on deck to perimeter, and we are at 150 lineal feet of deck and a 380 house footprint, so it, I believe, meets the guidelines, because I think it's a 30% of the house.
All right, is everybody have a chance to look at it? Matt, do you want to start?
Sure. I appreciate the revisions and these minor changes. I especially appreciate you looking at the decking and presenting an alternative approach. And I don't think I think any concerns I had have been assuaged by your changes. So I don't have any concerns.
Already, Val?
I agree with Matthew, and I especially like having some of that railing shingle, because it really does break it up visually.
Yeah, I think you're
It
right.
works very well. Sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't. It
From
really does.
where this would be seen and how it would read, it really helps.
Right. Christine?
I too appreciate all your changes, Lisa. I just have a couple of nitpicky things.
Sure.
I'm wondering, does anybody feel like there should be any kind of fenestration on the end of the garage on the south elevation? Facing, you know, do you see what I'm
You
saying?
mean remove those windows? Is that what you mean?
Where?
I'm not sure what you mean.
No,
Which elevation?
on
are you
the
talking
south elevation, when you're looking at the south elevation
Yeah.
of the garage, I guess it is.
The main house, that's a section through. That's so you can see
It is
the,
the section?
yeah,
Is
that's so
there
you can
any?
see the courtyard. The south elevation, if you keep going back, it's A5.25.
What is it?
A5.2.5.
I don't think I have that.
I don't either.
Oh, that's weird.
On our package, it seems to be 2.3.
Oh, okay, that could be. I'm looking at reductions. It's this elevation right here, see?
Oh, yeah.
So that other
sorry,
drawing was a
sorry.
section.
Lisa,
That's okay.
Okay, so here's my second nitpicky thing.
Yep.
I didn't pick up on this last time, but the columns, are they graduatedly swollen columns, emphasis?
Yes.
Columns, and they're round?
Yes,
And they're wood.
yes.
Okay, natural to weather?
No,
No, they're white.
they're white.
And they grow to 12-inch columns. Okay, my third nitpicky piece, on the north elevation, you did such a beautiful job on your railings, but I'm wondering if on the right-hand side on the north, that you should just bring that railing in just a tad so it matches sort of your railing detail on the left.
Well,
set
I
of French
think
doors.
that the problem with that, I mean, we looked at that, but it really made that deck too small, and I think because of the way, if you look at the plan and the way that that deck is sort of pushed back from the other one, you know, I'm hoping that the other, if you look at the site plan,
Yeah.
that the other mass hides it, because the size of the deck off of that area is extremely important to them, and because it's set back in.
Okay, as I say, these were three nitpicky, and the first one has been eliminated since I didn't see the last page of the plan. And, the other thing was just the width of the column and that little piece of railing. Otherwise, I think you did a great job.
The railing that you were talking about, Christine, is this one here? In the-
No, it's the very end of the north.
Okay.
This one.
If you look at the very end on the left, and then you look at the
Yeah,
very end on the right.
I see what you're
I was
saying.
just thinking maybe they should shorten that ever so slightly, but Lisa said she looked
The
at
other
it.
Yeah, we
one
looked
sort
at
of-
it, and it just made this porch too small, I mean, and because of the orientation of the house and the visibility, you're looking at it from, you're never gonna look at it from the north because of how it sits on the land.
Yeah.
I was hoping that it would be,
This one being,
And for myself personally, I think 12-inch columns on this house is just a slightly too big. But, that's
really, you
just
think
me.
so?
I would,
Feels
I
like
think
it
I
has a
would
lot
go-
of roof, like a lot of heft to it.
I know, but those columns are gonna be mondo, I think, when you get them in place.
Are they similar to the ones in this house? Do you know?
Can I see
Let me
that?
look at that.
I'm sorry. Just carry it over to Christine. You gave us
Johnny?
that pack when you first came in.
I think that that's
You think those are
do you have some comments about it?
That's it for me.
They taper in at the top.
Yeah, they go up straight and they taper in, the classical columns.
Fancy.
Okay, that's it for me.
All right. Johnny?
No, I had no problem.
Abby?
I'm not on it.
Okay,
Matthew Coombs, McLaughlin, Glazer, Oliver, Cooner.
so I've gotten every,
He
you went first.
So I'd make a motion to approve it.
Okay, let me just determine one thing so we know. On your, pillars,
Yes.
at the base they're 12. At the top they're
Oh,
what,
they probably
10?
taper to 10.
So, can you live with it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I said they were nitpicky, tiddlywink observations, that's it.
All right, I have no problems with it either.
So I have
So
a
may I
motion.
have a vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. John, since we weren't able to submit floor plans, I just brought floor plans. You guys don't stamp them anyway, but do you want them?
Floor plans?
Yeah.
So now we have 9 Pippin Way.
6.
Are you upside down dyslexic or something?
Yeah,
No, well, there's a 9 Broadway just after that, so.
I can read things, those things on Facebook
Hello.
that you have to read upside down and backwards, no problem.
John, I made new plans. I don't know. We had a conversation this morning, and he said to bring in new plans because when I applied, the cabana was facing one direction,
Backwards.
and then the owners decided to turn it 180 degrees.
Are we talking about the garage?
No, this is the cabana.
Because it was a similar thing with the garage, was it not?
Well, that was
That was backwards?
yeah, well, that was a drawing error, but this one they actually took it and flipped it 180.
Okay.
So rather than getting anybody confused looking at that one and then
Okay.
saying let's turn it around, I brought new ones.
Great.
You make
And
me sign a change order?
what we need, yeah. Can we have a board on this one?
Paul, Coombs, McLaughlin, Camp, and Cooner. Alternate Oliver and Welch.
Okay.
Wait, so,
Pohl, Coombs, McLaughlin, Camp, Cooner.
Okay.
Who wants
So
them?
you want
Who wants them?
to, all the voting members should certainly have them in hand.
I helped Diane.
Oh, isn't Abby on this? This is,
Yes.
don't you want one?
Abby and Matthew, you'll share.
Oh,
So that is mine.
yeah. So what, at the last meeting, this was a small cabana, and it had the 2 exterior walls making a porch, but according to
Oh, yeah.
the powers that be of the building department, they don't like that anymore. So this is the same thing, removing those 2 walls and removing the gable over the entry.
Right.
And so,
Okay.
What's the size of this bill? There's no dimension.
it's,
15 high.
yeah, the,
It's going to be 10 by 20.
yeah, 10 by 20.
That's,
and
it's a zoning shed. quote unquote.
and the,
That's not 10 feet wide.
Oh, maybe it's 8 by 12.
well, wait, the bathroom area, I think, is 6 by 10 maybe?
Let's take bets on this here. It's 7.5 by 15.5. When I say that, I am talking about the enclosed portion.
No,
And
that's
then-
what I mean. It's just odd that this is the only part that's a building, right?
Yes,
Right.
so
Yeah,
the
the
rest
rest
of it is wide open. I mean, it's sort of like, gazebo pavilion. Yes, a pavilion.
Yeah, and because it's located upslope and behind the house,
Yeah.
yeah, and so, and the,
And
the solid portion is toward the street, and the open part is toward the hillside.
Everybody-
General question, does this go with the main house architecture?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Because you've got some elements here that are,
Well, there ain't much there.
There's
There's a roof pitch and there's some windows.
Two windows.
no, well, you've got a whole
porch.
pediment and 2 columns. It's a Doric temple. What do you mean?
Oh.
Oh, I don't think there's a, do you have a,
Yeah,
I
but
don't have
again,
any-
that portion is
I don't have
facing
any-
off-street and behind the house, so.
Well, just because they put the trim board across,
Right.
it makes it look like a pediment.
Single pane?
I will ask.
I'm
Is this just a single light?
It's single light to match the main house and the garage.
Matches, I mean, not matches, it's going here.
Yeah, and again, that's facing the hillside.
Yeah. Okay, so Abby, do you want to continue?
I'm fine with it. If it relates back to the main house, I'm fine with this.
Okay.
How we like to have the main-
Matthew, as long as you're right there. wanna-
Sure. I don't have a locus, so.
Oh, that's probably on the other set of plans.
You know what this, Matthew, Pippin's Way is the little subdivision that's right behind,
Oh, thanks.
so,
Off behind Moore's End.
correct.
Okay.
So, I mean, in the visibility from
That's-
a public way would be across Moore's End, and given the amount of vegetation that's back there, you'll never see this building. from
You're starting
Pulpit
to see them now. I just noticed.
Oh,
as
oh,
you-
really?
As
You
you're going
can
down
see the
Pulpus Road
buildings.
and you look over.
Street. Little low stuff like this?
You can start to see, well, you start to see the houses at the end of Pippin's Way now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my only concern is the proportion of enclosed versus unenclosed space that's on the east and west elevation. My preference would be to have like a third enclosed and 2/3 open. But if it's not visible and we don't have jurisdiction over it, then just take those comments with a grain of salt.
I'm going to comment on
Forget
that
what I
once it
said.
gets around to me, because that's a good point. Let's see,
Me.
yes, Diane.
I think it's, I don't know, like, it needs another pillar in the middle, you suppose, of the
Span?
span, the vast span. If they had something, it would sort of bring it together. It seems to me a big opening.
Which elevation though? Are you talking about?
East
the
and
east?
west.
East and west. If you just put one pillar here and one pillar there, it
They
would
park the tractor.
make it look more
Like it's not gonna collapse.
anchored there. I guess that's what
John, it's to you, sir.
No comment.
No comment. And what I will say is, you know, Diane, I definitely agree with you on the visual thing, and Matthew. The 1/3, 2/3, I also agree with, but I do firmly believe that even if you could see the roof of this building from Pulpus Road, if it were all cleared away, it would be at such a distance that you'd never really be able to, A, gauge the depth of the porch, because you're looking at the gable end, and B, know that there were or were not intermediate columns on the sides. So I'm okay without either one of those. If it were visible, I would say yes, that those things would be important. So,
Is it structurally, it's 18 feet in between.
structurally, you know, you
Fine.
could get anything to work.
It's a
yeah.
metal
Yeah.
I-beam in there.
We'll put a huge
Explosive.
massive steel I-beam in there.
Rusty steel, yeah.
So how do we all feel? What do we all do with this?
Good.
Is that good enough?
Make a motion to
Yeah.
approve.
Yep, I agree with that.
Is that due
All
to
right.
lack of visibility that you're?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good caveat.
Okay.
That's the,
Okay, so Diana's made a motion to approve this due to lack of visibility. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Unanimous. Okay, you're done. Do we have somebody here for Broadway? Doesn't look like it. No.
I have a nitpick point.
Okay, so I guess we will just, can I have a motion to hold 9 Broadway?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Diane. All those in favor of holding number 7 for representation? Aye. Okay, now we are on to Brooks' stuff.
That might hurt.
For representation,
Yeah, that was, because Steve.
Is he coming? Nerd, is nerd coming?
I don't know, he might be gone in school vacation. It starts tomorrow, but some people leave early.
Didn't you say something like that he doesn't know why it's on here?
Yeah, that's what I,
Number 9, that was a huge project. Are you talking about 9 Broadway?
yeah.
That was with the whole upstairs, the downstairs and the pergola.
That was the beauty parlor.
No.
No, that's Steve.
Yeah,
So
one could
this
have
was, you're up next at HDC. Thanks, but I didn't file any revisions, so wondering what's up.
Oh,
Appreciate
I
the
thought
heads
there
up.
were revisions on that, for sure.
well.
Maybe he hasn't done it.
All right, so,
Hold it.
Paul, Coombs, Glazer, Oliver, and Cooner.
Cole, Coombs, Glazer, Oliver, and Cooner.
Okay.
all right, so the last time through, one of the, a few of the concerns, but one of them was the transom over the garage door. You'll see that that's gone. The other was, there seemed to be some question about the size of the cupola, and so that was made smaller. I also cut out a column of glass in each of the windows. I basically tried to lessen the impact of the initial presentation by parsing here and there.
Parsing here and there.
And I think, John, do you still have the photos of the house in that file? Just so you
I don't see a whole lot of parsing there, Brooke. I see like you eliminated one
can,
window.
yes, yes, that's
Okay. Is that correct?
That's why you use the word parsing.
parse.
I would
And then
say-
small,
I would say like using the tiniest of scissors.
parsimonious parsing.
Surgical precision.
Surgical revision.
Those little scissors that you see on those charm bracelets?
Yes.
Anyway, do you want to continue, Christine?
No, not if Brooke's not done.
Oh, I'm,
he's gone.
I'm willing to, begin to engage in the discussion.
Okay, Brooke.
Do you want to?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, I would still like to see the cupola disappear. I appreciate the parsing that you did on the shed dormer, number of window panes, but I feel like I'd like to, maybe it's a single row that we need to see of window panes rather than a double. That's really all that I have to say.
Okay. Matthew?
Thanks for your changes. I too am not convinced that the cupola is the right approach, but other than that, I don't really have any concerns.
Diane? Actually, Diane? I always pick you before Val, so I'm going to let
That's
Val
all right.
go first this time.
I
Just,
agree
I'm
with
trying
what's
to
been
keep things,
what's been
fair.
said. I
Okay.
think that the main house is so simple. What's kind of sticking for everybody is that this is such a complicated little structure.
You hit
So
the nail
anything
on the
that
head.
you can do to simplify it is good. And just maybe
Well
even
said.
taking the cupola off would be the right thing.
Very good.
But everything that you've done is, you've
Yeah.
parsed well.
Diane?
Precisely.
I agree. On the second floor, it just seems to be a loft area. It doesn't seem to going to have anybody inhabiting it. So perhaps, as Christine suggested, reducing
make it
it
a
down
real
to
clear story.
one story of windows. I don't know what it would look like. The for a suggestion for where the cupola is, put a complicated weather vane, which would give you a break in the ridge.
Well, I think that, certainly, I think the cupola could go away. I would like to keep the dormers, and, if we, I don't know that it wouldn't look any more or less busy. Well, I think it might look almost as busy if we went to a single,
Right.
single transoms. But if you guys would go with removing the cupola,
I could go for that.
Yeah.
Because the side that faces the road is the north.
On your.
and the south doesn't. South's not visible. But well, sorry, John.
That's right, on your plot plan, the house is up by Quidnet Path. And the barn is all the way down to Quidnet Road, right?
Well, the garage is actually up
It's in
uphill.
front of the house.
It's up in front of the house. It's on Quidnet Path.
What's that then?
That's a new dwelling that.
That's
is
the next
coming up
application.
Oh, all right, that's what, so you're not going to see that.
Could we
if
pinch
it's
the
south at
dormer,
all.
maybe?
What are we talking?
Well,
I didn't.
are we into let's make a deal territory here?
Yeah.
So let me just say, I agree wholeheartedly with Val's comment that it's, just generally too busy. Removing the cupola, great, that's good. Now, those windows, the transom windows that are of concern to pretty much everybody, I think if the pane sizes, I liked Christine's suggestion of doing a single row. And if the pane sizes were the same pane size as the number 4 windows, then it would be more of a simplification to the overall reading of this building, and I think that would be a good thing.
Okay, so 3 lights.
Well, just
well,
the
no,
size of the window
it's-
pane in your number 4 window.
Yeah, see,
One-
these panes are bigger,
a single
so if you're doing
row.
a single row of
Bigger
those-
windows.
And your door, and your shed
Do you
No,
dormers.
I thought you were just
I think that
talking
would
like,
look really
like
nice.
a 1 high, 4 wide.
1 high, 4 wide.
Just a four sets of 4 light.
Yeah, that's what I
windows.
thought you were talking about.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm just
So
saying.
just taking those 4 unit 4s and putting them up in the
No,
dormer?
no,
No,
no.
the
I'm
size
saying
of
that the pane size of the number 4 window is larger than the
Yes.
number
Yes.
2 windows. So that's adding to the confusion of this building. It's adding to the visual, impression of too much going on. So if you took that pane size and you just created a transom, whether it's 5 lights wide or 6
Right,
lights wide,
and without the
whatever.
cupola, I won't be fighting the
No,
way the dormer
and that, those
roof
are too
comes in.
small
Right.
too, just to be
Right.
honest. But so, then I think we're
We're
where we
good to
wanna
go,
be.
I would think.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we do that through staff?
It's a good question
I kind of like
because,
to see a picture.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be
Yeah.
like a,
it'd be easy, okay? So can we just,
I'll make a motion to hold for a minor revision to the sheds.
and the,
Shed,
And no
and the
cupola.
removal of the cupola.
yeah, okay. All those in favor of Christine's motion?
Arm again.
Okay. So, new dwelling.
Morgan.
Is this on a new board? Have you seen this?
Yes, same board. I think it was briefly viewed, and there were some quick comments, and one of the comments was about what else is on the road nearby. And so I've got 2 sets of photos, one for this side and one
Bruce
for that
Bohr's
side.
house.
Yeah, Bruce is on one side, and then there's there's 2 or 3 on the other side that are.
I'm going to speak for John McLaughlin on this. You're not on this, but if you were, John would say, these photos should all have addresses on them.
Okay, that's Bruce's house.
Is it?
20 years ago.
I know.
Okay, then I don't know which one Bruce is out, but like, that is
All right.
further down towards the crossroads, I
There's a
think.
pen. You can
Yeah,
have
I-
that.
But all of these are on Quidnet Road.
They're right on Quidnet Road, and they're, Bruce
And
is,
we're looking at the views as taken from Quidnet Road?
that one's through, there's a privet hedge in front of it, but you can still see it. I just wanted to show you the busyness of it. But that one's almost right across the street. The one that looks like a Victorian is probably 100 yards closer. Yes, that's right on, that's right across the street from the building.
And this is that,
That's Bruce's.
That's Bruce's.
Probably about a quarter mile towards Pulpus. And then there's one that's hidden in the bushes that I don't know if that is part of it, but that was Bruce Poor. Gloria.
After he left the farm.
Gloria and Bruce.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Anyway,
don't know where they live.
Do you guys have pics?
across the street.
Now you know.
yeah. So anyway, my point is that while there's not a lot
They have a house in the
of buildings, there are at least 3, if not 4, that are visible in certain areas that have complicated roof lines and are definitely taller than what I'm proposing.
How far away from the road are you, Brooke?
Right in the foreground.
Because there's no, I can't tell.
Well, it's a 30-foot front yard setback,
Okay,
so probably 30,
something,
31, 32
yeah.
feet, yeah.
Just, you can see
Is
that.
this the same board as the last one?
And the other
Yeah,
thing
so,
too,
okay, just, John, correct me if I'm wrong here. I have Pohl, Coombs, Glazer, Oliver, Cooner.
How'd you remember that?
Paul Coombs,
He writes
Glazer,
it down.
Oliver, and Cooner.
He writes it down, he writes it really. He's a little cheat sheet. You really wanna know the truth.
We thought you were.
And-
You got that
doing
napkin,
this.
didn't you?
One
Paying
one
no
more
attention
limit
to the
when we're looking at the site here, because the first inclination is to see how far we can push it back. There is a surveyed clearing area for this building that is part of the deed,
It's Misa, right?
NISA, yep.
Which house is this in the bushes?
That's actually sort of catty corner to where Bruce Poor's house is.
So it's on the same side of the street as your house?
Well, it's actually on the opposite side. It's like this is, if you're driving out to Quidnet, that building is on the right, Bruce's is on the left, and then across from what I'm proposing, those other 2 houses are on the right-hand side.
So, Brooke,
Yes.
this is part of the upper lot, but is it the intent that it's gonna be subdivided?
It is not the intent that it will be subdivided.
I don't think it can be.
I don't know.
This is the only lot that can be subdivided,
The road
but that
that
is
goes
not
through
the
the
intent. I promise. They promise too.
That's,
Is it the same, the reason I was wondering, is it the same colors and details as the other house? Or
Yes,
is this
yes,
like
it
a
is.
second dwelling?
Yes,
So
yes.
it's a little bit taller than we typically,
Steve, does
But
Johnny-
it's totally unrelated because
Right.
it's
because it's so far
300 feet
away.
away, and it's downslope. It's almost like it's its own standalone structure.
I don't
oh,
understand
Can you tell me the difference?
Do you know what I'm saying? Because there's the main house, and this is really a second dwelling.
Let's go, guys. It's a beautiful day out there. Sun doesn't set
Yes.
until 5:45.
And I have to pack clothes.
so,
Do you have your,
Northwest elevation is not visible.
Gone through everything, not to know on the floor.
are you saying that it's reading like a main house?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
yeah, what it always has been, that was what we, our initial reaction was to it.
This
When it first came our way. And we were like, why?
It's totally unrelated. In terms of its location, it's
It's good to have a sharp eye.
downslope and 300 feet or whatever it is from it.
And the ridge is 50 feet long.
No,
Well,
it's
it's broken up by a slightly higher rate.
yes,
Slightly higher.
yeah, and it's just a little on the southwest elevation. It's a slightly
This side is
off-center gable.
24 because it's gable.
Northwest is not visible, that faces the, back up the hill.
Northwest.
Yeah, so when you're on Quidnet Path Road on the top, you would look down, presumably.
Presumably, possibly, but there's, the house, the main house kind of is pretty large, and I think you'd have to be up pretty high to see.
It is 24 feet, 6 inches
It
only.
is, yeah, it is a small building.
Well, but the point is, this is this whole 22-foot argument where Brooks' contention is, well, this is so far away from the main house that, you know, it's really reading as a separate dwelling, you know, whether you buy that or not.
And, you know, if it helps the argument to say that we will subdivide, then,
Can I see those?
Oh,
Can I see those,
so
yeah.
they will, I'm sure.
Diane, are
Yeah.
you ready to begin?
Yeah, looking at some of the pictures of the houses next door is, I think on one of them, which I guess is right across the street, has a lower feel because after the main gable, it doesn't have any, thing on the side. You have a porch, which is shingled, and then you have the mulled windows. I don't know whether maybe a single window, if you could bring that roof down and you're on that particular elevation, you're only at 23.3. Both northeast and southeast is a short elevation. It might make it simpler in the front, which gives you a feeling of a simpler, lower building. I don't know how much you'll see in the northwest, going along Quidnet Road.
You wouldn't see anything,
Look, how you drive in,
yeah.
and the garage is there.
It's on the back side of the building,
Right.
and it's downslope of the main house.
I can't be concerned about it, but I would be concerned in the back of my mind of another building going in there. I think I would like to see the front of the house a little simpler. I think it would be good, as I say, the northeast and the southwest elevations do not bother me, and they're kept, tallest is at 24.6. So what, do we make a decision about that now or later? If we make a decision now and say he can have a 24.6 building, then if he wants to put another building in, he cannot, right? That's that height, because it would have to be 22.
Well, we can't do anything. I mean, this is it. There's a clearing there that is an environmentally approved clearing. There are no other clearings that are allowed for any structure. So it's this building that's downslope, and then the upper building that exists.
Well, it's theoretically possible, and we're going down a road that's not really germane to the HCC, but theoretically, the clearing is on the MESA is on the bottom half of
Yes.
the
Right.
So theoretically, on the top half, you could add another building, but we're talking about the bottom half now.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I would like to see basically the southeast and the northwest facade be simplified as far as their windows fenestration.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Val.
I think, given the color scheme he's using, which is the cobblestone in black, and the fact that there's cottage corners, the impact is completely different from when you do white trim. And I know we have that 22-foot rule, and I usually am the person who brings it up. But I think when that rule was put in, it's houses that relate to one another on a site that can visually be seen at the same time. Something that's 200 or 300 feet apart, I think there's a little leeway for the height. And 24/6 is pretty low, so I'm okay with this.
Okay, thank you. Matthew?
Oh, I mean, I really don't have any issues with the design as proposed. I think the southeast elevation reads pretty appropriate. My main sticking point is the height. And if we have a 22-foot rule, I feel as though we should abide by it. You know, I think that if we start to be lenient and have exceptions, then people are going to be, you know, as they do, they ask for exceptions all the time. So if that's our guideline, I think we should stick to it.
So,
I'm sorry.
is this going to be a
You don't have to be sorry.
Never be sorry for your opinion.
Right.
Are you on this out?
No, it's now to you.
Okay. Brooke, I'm sorry. I'm gonna
That's
preface
the lead in.
my comments
Go
with
for it.
sorry. But I feel that this structure has no additive massing. I feel that the structure is imposing, due to its proximity to the road on the lower side. And I am concerned about the fenestration as previously stated. Additionally, I'd like to know, is there a detached garage that goes with the house up at the top of the hill?
That's what the other proposal was.
Oh,
The
yeah,
one with
right.
the
Garage,
cupola.
the cupola, right.
Yeah.
And you took the transom off the garage doors, and I would assume that you would do the same with this house.
Well, those are built into the doors.
I know, but I think that you need to have a simpler garage door, especially in that location. But I'd like to see a redesign. I honestly, when you look at the floor plan of this house, it's a box. And I just don't think that it illustrates or demonstrates additive massing. That's it for me.
Thank you. So not to further confuse you, but I think it was Diane who said that she was looking for more simplicity on the southeast elevation, which is the
Facing
one.
Quidnet
Yeah,
Road,
right. And that's what's resonating with me. I mean, you have this, the main mass is rather small in relation to this very, very large so-called subordinate mass to the right of it, which is, you know, peppered with a deck, you know, a couple sets of dormers that have wide eave overhang or rake overhangs. So I think that there's a simplicity to the house, the main house up on the hill, that this lacks. And I think that if you could just get this to be simpler, and maybe, you know, somehow get that ridge, this subordinate ridge, to be less long, that would do it for me. But
So I have just a couple of thoughts. One is that we might be able to squeeze a couple of feet of length off of that whole ridge mass situation.
that would be good.
And then, you know, obviously that would mean that dormer on the right would wind up with a single window. You know, I definitely get that there's a unanimous distaste for the front porch area, and I think that's easily an easy fix. So I'd like to, you know, anything that I bring back, I would like to at least start there. You know, the whole intention of this building is also to be an upside-down house, which is a tricky proposition anyway, and to also make it like actually make it like a house. So
Interestingly, though, you know, upside-down houses are more successful, I think, if the roof planes are more simple.
right.
You know,
But unfortunately you wind up with a building that's tall in order to get living spaces in there. Something that's but anyway, we'll
Maybe you can cut some of the windows on the first floor if it's an upside-down house, and you're not
You won't
lighting it.
see the first floor,
Are
it's the
these
second
yours?
floor.
those actually belong in the file. They can all
You
go
don't
in the
think we'll
file.
see that from?
This?
All right.
I'll make a motion then to hold for some revision.
okay, all those in favor table Christine's motion. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Land bank,
Because there's some kind of protected
Yeah.
envelope.
I have the folder papers.
Yes.
is anyone here for the land bank? Oh,
It's kind of crumply. It's like a pen.
I don't know why he's coming again.
Because we asked him to give some history.
Hey, Dan.
Hi.
Yeah, exactly. Watch out for us. Thelma and Louise.
yeah, really.
Sitting, I have Coombs, Camp, Cooner, and Welch.
Oh.
What is it?
Coombs,
Coombs,
Camp,
Camp, Cooner, and
Cooner
Welch.
and Welch.
This is it.
So
From
Diane's
that
gonna.
reduced meeting last week.
She's recused because she's worked on it
The
before.
previous time I did.
Okay.
So much is happening with this building, I wrote myself a chronology. So I'm Dane DeCarlo from the Land Bank. We're proposing to move the Ray Boat Barn, as it's called, down the street to our other property at 23 Tennessee. I came in and was heard last Thursday and was asked to find documentation that the HDC approved a move at some point. Susan Campese and I looked at all the records. Unfortunately, I am here today with no proof that the HDC actually approved that the place can move. In minutes of a land bank meeting in March of 2010, at that time, Bruce Perry was motioning. There was plans to move the boathouse to Jackson Point, and apparently that was no longer an option due to a restrictive agreement the town had with an abutter named Alfred Stanley. However, at that time, the Admiralty Club was now interested in receiving the building, and given their location in Nantucket, Mr. Perry thought HCC would approve the move off to that location. And for better or worse, a short period of time later, the deal with the Admiralty fell through, so Mr. Perry withdrew his application to move the building. Which brings us to the present day. I expressed last Thursday that basically the position of the land bank was we were basically looking at what the use of the site at 23 Tennessee would be. It's across from a piece of property that we own on Hither Creek that's more or less a parking lot for Tuckernuck residents and day boat people. And there was discussion of what was going to be going on across the street, which is 23 Tennessee. There was discussion of parks, there was discussion of sitting areas. There was also discussion that the abutters wanted nothing to happen on that site. And it then became clear that it was a great idea, given where the Ray Boat Barn building is, being very close to the street, not as accessible. The barn doors that I was in a month ago, I asked to revise, basically switching the elevations from the north to the south side. And I suddenly started to think that, hey, it would be a great idea to move this building down the street because it would retain its elevation facing Hither Creek. It would be more accessible. It would be less of a nuisance to the abutters. And then on the other end at 48 Tennessee, it would restore a wetland habitat, much more park-like setting, especially since at 50 Tennessee we are approved to construct an elevated dock, which would give the public access to the creeks and kayaks and what have you. So I'm here today.
That's your presentation.
That is my presentation.
Read Madicus. Madicus has to say, also, before I do, here's 48. Where is 23?
It was Malcolm Savarino's house.
Oh,
is it?
Which is not there anymore.
Oh, it's not on your.
Yeah, it's not
on
on.
us, is it?
Sorry, I guess it's not.
it's down at the bottom corner.
Yeah.
No, Malcolm, they're moving, they want to move it to Malcolm.
So, Nantucket says they prefer to have it remain in current location. And they have stated this over their period of time, and I don't have any other things. So, Abby, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm at, what? And Matthew's on this too. I would like to see it remain there. I'd like to see it, actually somehow, I don't want to see this building fall apart. I think it's, historic enough that it should remain intact.
May I see this?
So, I also, and would like to see where it would go and what that lot would look like, and how it would be oriented on that new lot, in order to make a decision whether
Okay.
it should be.
Yeah, in my application, I said it would move to the southwest corner, excuse me.
It would be really nice for me
To see it on-
to have it included in this look.
I could absolutely do
I
that.
could make a better decision on that.
Matt?
I appreciate the extra information that you've provided. In this case, I have to agree with the Nantucket Advisory Board. This is listed as a contributing building in both the state and the federal historic districts, which means that we have to look at this very carefully in deciding whether or not it's appropriate to move the structure. Moving a building off of its parcel does have an impact on its integrity as a historic resource. And if there had been a previous HDC approval, I think there might be a little bit more flexibility. But since apparently there was not, I have to oppose the move.
Thank you. Steve?
Let me say this. I appreciate everybody's input. Dane, thanks for bringing us back some additional information. I disagree with my fellow commission members. I think that there's a storied past of moving buildings around the island and keeping them within certain areas. And the fact that this would be relocated, a few hundred feet down the road, still facing Heather Creek, be put to good use, and perhaps allow that land bank use, the land bank land to be put to good use, I would vote in favor of it.
Okay, that's it?
That's
I am against the move because if you read in historic actions, when a building is moved, it loses a part of its importance, because part of the importance is where it is. We've learned that over the time, and we have allowed stuff to be moved, and we've lost the integrity of that building. And I think that this is right where it is. The parking lot has already been established down here at Malcolm's place, and I think that this building can be properly restored without much help, and I think that
Well,
the land bank should leave it there.
Okay, might I add, I was in here some months ago asking to rehabilitate this building, and because of the north elevation facing Heather Creek having the barn doors, which is no longer accessible from a standpoint of wetlands, a grove of cedar trees blocking it, I was asking to switch the elevations per se. I was going to ask that I put windows on the north side and put in a barn door on the north. That changes on the south, excuse me, which changes the integrity of the building to me. And not to mention that its placement on the street makes it seemingly, just a bit of a nuisance to access the building. We're blocking the road every time we're moving a boat in and out, or a kayak, or what have you. I was feeling that moving it down the street was taking it away from the water and out of a wetland. And now you get to enjoy the view of it the way it was originally constructed, which is from the north.
I understand the challenges in owning a historic property, but frankly, if the land bank didn't want to be bothered with the nuisance of maintaining a historic resource, it shouldn't have purchased a property that had encumbrances on it.
That's, yeah, sure.
Register
Understand that.
Eric should know what
I would like to make a motion to deny the application for a move.
due to historic location.
Yeah, this is due to the fact that this is the historic location for the resource, and that relocating it, according to the Nantucket Advisory Board and these board members, would compromise the integrity of the structure.
Okay,
Don't we give him a chance to withdraw the application before?
Yeah.
Okay.
but I just wanted to tell him what we had written down. So you have a choice. You can have it denied, which, and the reason, we have to give a reason why it's denied. We can't just whip it out. Is due to the historic location and its, what, its ability to be
Where it's situated on the site, where,
due to historic location.
The proposed move would.
You know, let's make, in a sense, I have a feeling that I should just withdraw, because the other piece of this puzzle is I only had since Thursday to look for this information, and we did what we could down at the registry, and our director is away, and he knows a little more about this than, I
That's
think
all
that
right.
Susan
Then
Campese
we-
and I were able to uncover. So there could be something
Yeah.
So
that
why
I'm
don't
just
you
not bringing in here.
pull the
So,
application,
yeah.
which leaves it so that you can
Reapply.
redo it
That's-
if you have more
I think
information.
that's a great idea.
Okay?
Or can he ask for just a continuance? In case-
No, he has to, we've made a vote. We have a vote on the table.
But we didn't vote.
We didn't.
We
vote on
didn't
it.
vote.
So I'm happy to change my motion or withdraw my motion. Why
Right.
don't I withdraw my motion?
Withdraw it, and then we give you the chance to withdraw your application. Yes, Johnny?
I have a comment, my own personal comment, which I like to make, that I've always felt that if a building is not completely non-salvageable, you can get rid of it. I've always said it's better first to try, it's better to move it than to lose it on all the old structures. So if you move it, I think you still got the building.
I'm
Doesn't matter
I'm
where it's
feeling
here
that
or
way
over here.
myself. It stands a better chance of being rehabilitated and preserved in its new location.
Why?
Because the land bank, if we decide it's not really accessible and not useful as a boat building, then maybe we wouldn't even put a new roof or siding on it, that's their decision.
That's information
So-
is helpful for us to make
Right,
a
and,
decision.
but remember, you have things that say you can't let a building fall to rack and ruin.
There are demolition by neglect bylaws here, and so if the land bank were to choose to go down that route, then the HTC would be empowered to find the land bank and compel it to maintain the building in good order.
Okay. It's already there.
If I may.
So let's see, yeah.
If I may, I think, the other commission members bring up some fairly important and valid points, but being where we had a motion and it was talking about withdrawal or continuance or whatnot, I would make a motion based on the applicant's testimony that they may have some other information to provide for a hold or a continuance or whatever it is you
Sorry,
want to call it.
can I just ask a
Yes,
question, point of order? Did you withdraw your motion?
I did, but
Oh, okay.
if that wasn't clear, I withdraw it
We'll
again.
do it again.
Okay, just making sure.
Let me say that if he withdrew his application, it wouldn't put him in any jeopardy. He would come forward again with the application with news. So,
But he would have to pay a new fee, correct? If you withdraw, you have to reapply, so why would you do that if it's just a continuance?
Madam Chair, I would, if the commission want to make a motion for him to hold for more information or something.
Yeah.
I'd give him a chance.
to come back with it, all right, we'll do that.
Then it's still current.
I get it, and I can make, I could come in with the plot plan of
I
23
would
with
love to
the,
see the plot plan
Absolutely.
with where it's going, how it's oriented, and sort of what are the plans for this building? That you would, I just don't want to see it, I want to see it renovated, and I want to see where it would be, absolutely. So I'm going to make a motion
for more information. And,
I'll withdraw my motion.
okay.
For more information. And
Boy.
in your information, I just will add a comment, is in over the last 12 years, the amount of land that the land bank has purchased and then requested a move of the
Yeah.
buildings off of it is something that you want to keep in mind.
Yeah, I would, yeah, just a general note that if it were to be moved, it would be nice if the land bank, if we were to know what is going to happen to that building.
Absolutely.
Like
No,
If land bank would renovate it back to its,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say as a comment, it's a guarantee that it would be renovated, because I have already talked with Toscana, and the logistics of moving a 24-foot building down that road is such that we would build 2 walls in the center of that building, split it in half, and move it in 2 pieces, so that you're essentially moving 2 14-foot wide buildings to be set back down on a foundation and stitched back together. Because otherwise, we would be disrupting a street that is so iconic, you know, it's a dirt road, it's hardly 18 feet wide. I don't think that we would bother with trying to receive approval from all the abutters to widen the road. You know, we would be taking down trees and brush and,
But may
you know.
I also add outside, let us finish this vote, and then I would like to just say one thing more. So all those in favor of Abby's motion,
for
which
more information.
is to hold for more information, may I have that vote?
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous. The other thing, just so I don't think you've been there long enough, the little building, the little barn on Union Street, as it breaks from Orange at the pond, belongs to the land bank. When it came proposed in front of us, we were told it was constructed in 1940. Building was constructed in 1881, and the grandfather of a member of the public in Nantucket had pictures of it because it was a horse barn that serviced the steamship. So make sure that your information is correct and current, okay? It'll make it easier for you.
Absolutely.
Thank
All right,
you,
well,
Dan.
thank you.
Thank you.
We will see you.
Do we want to make
Yes,
a motion
yes.
on 23?
I did, but
to-
that's not clear enough. I'll do
To
better
hold for
next time.
It's
additional
being held
information.
now.
Or to track. To track.
Track.
Is that the?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Vote on that?
Do we have a vote on holding it to track?
More
Abby?
information. Yes, yes,
Track.
yes, the
Steve?
motion to track
Motion to track.
the
Are you in
move off.
favor?
I make that motion, if not
No,
necessary, I
we-
vote
it's-
yes.
Okay.
Great. And just an administrative question, I know we have a certain amount of time to make a decision on the application.
Right.
When does that
Expire?
April 17th?
Well, they,
Sign an extension.
yeah, it's all about extensions. I'm sure they've already filed an extension.
Thank you.
No one's here for 14 Cherry Street, right?
What Cherry Street is that?
Is that, I know, because
It's,
we looked at so many on Cherry.
Looks like a demo.
Bracken?
Wow, that's interesting.
But is that
A
Cherry
demo?
Street out in Tom Nevers? Is this Cherry
There's
Street
a
in
Cherry Street in Tom Nevers.
Which one is it?
It's in town near John.
Williams?
It's in town.
It's the in-town Cherry.
Yeah.
Next to Cumberland Farms.
Right. But are we going to hold this for representation?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a demo.
Yes, but I talked to them on,
Vacation time or something?
and about what they're replacing it with,
I
and they
saw.
need to really rethink that.
Okay.
So,
All right, so could I have a
I'll
motion?
I'll make a motion to hold items
for rep-
12 and 13 for representation.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. All those in favor of Christine's motion to hold for representation?
Aye.
Okay, permits plus. Mark Poor.
He's been sitting here since the
10 North Florida.
Poor Mark Poor.
Has been waiting
Waiting,
all day.
waiting.
Yeah, wait for, I could never finish
We're
that
still
book.
waiting for Godot. Okay. This doesn't look
Been opened yet.
has not been opened, new board. Okay, so, regular board.
Is that the brick that they want to use to rebuild the chimneys?
Mark Port for the applicant. The project is proposed before you is twofold. One would be to rebuild both chimneys using the same brick that was used at the Graydon House renovation project next door, or just adjacent to it. Or, in the alternative, be able to remove one of the two chimneys on the building. I think, I believe both chimneys are historic to the building. The building was built circa 1846 after the Great Fire. And while they are not serving the general purpose that they did in their day, they are there, they are in tough shape. And I think probably the appropriate response would be to allow us to rebuild them as opposed to remove one, even though the client would desire to take one down. I think there's a symmetry on that side with the two chimneys.
I don't think you're going to get any argument.
Is that, Mark, is that the kind of brick?
That is the water-struck brick that was used on the Graydon House. The same mason would be doing this project for Brand Point Building and Management. Well, in addition to this, there is a re-roofing component as part of this as well, with a 3-tab asphalt shingled product as part of the alterations.
With the old historic water-struck bricks, did they have holes in them?
You won't see that. This is what you'll see.
Yeah, you'll only see the circles.
But my little thing had it, my bricks have got a
Those are for the
little
birds
indentation
in this in the
around there,
wintertime.
but they're older. Okay, well, do you want me to just keep on going? I think the chimney should be rebuilt.
Well, yeah, I have a feeling I know what HSAB is going to say about this, but could you read those, Matthew?
Sure. HSEP feels that it would not be appropriate to remove the chimneys. We feel that they're a prominent character-defining feature of the historic building, but rehabilitation and renovation, reconstruction of the chimneys would be perfectly appropriate.
Very good. All right, so Diane.
That's it. I agree.
Okay, yeah. John. Okay,
I agree.
right.
Yep, I'm with HSAP.
Yeah, I mean, so we can give you an approval to rebuild both chimneys.
It says there's a roofing change as well.
Yeah, so we should have focused on that a little bit. What is the roofing change involved, Mark?
It's John, if you could refresh my memory, it's been sitting here for a while. I think it was there's a green, which we can't get anymore, sea green, that's currently on the house. We were changing that to a gray. Was that correct, John?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
3-tab?
3-tab. Yeah, we can't get the green anymore.
Too bad.
I know, it's unfortunate.
I want red too.
Okay, so there it is.
I say a gray 3-tab is perfect.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to approve
And now,
as submitted.
no.
No?
You want to make a motion to approve a rebuild of both chimneys,
Oh,
not...
we have to choose?
No. See, the application was actually to remove one of the two chimneys and rebuild the other one. We want to basically save both chimneys but rebuild
Right.
them.
So
Okay?
they are to be,
The motion would be to
They'll be
approve
taken
this
down
with
to
the
the roof,
rebuilding
be
of two
flashed, and
chimneys.
then
Yes.
built up again.
And the approval of the 3-tab gray roof.
Yes.
That's the motion.
right.
Okay, all those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. there
Thanks
you are.
very much.
Thanks for waiting. All right, well, so unless Diane is here to represent Tom, Holt, and Bartlett. Diane? You're just say no. All those in favor, I shouldn't. Do we want to hold these?
I think 10 bayberries away.
Right.
One Sawrose, I suppose you could take a look at.
So I'm gonna make a motion then to hold number 15, 10 Bayberry Lane for representation.
All those in favor?
Aye. How many, when was that first sent to us, that one Saros? We've been postponing it for,
It was, new business last week, and it was on for old business.
the week before, and
I
new
thought the
business.
gentleman was gonna come in, but I spoke to him a
Oh,
little bit, and
that should probably have that.
I'm sorry, it's on.
This is that.
they seem to be flexible for the
So,
commissions.
So this is one Salros?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a board on this?
No, it hasn't been opened.
And
Okay,
we've
so-
been asked by the applicant to have a look at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you just say, Christine?
I said we've been asked by the applicant to have a look,
Oh, yeah.
as opposed to
Okay.
10 Bayberry.
So everybody, this is a new application, so it's the regular board.
And it looks
And it's
like
for a deck.
new building next stairs.
There's your existing stairway.
Well, it looks like it.
Yeah, is that the same elevation?
No, maybe
No,
not.
'cause this is
No.
the U thing.
That's the garage.
They wanna rebuild their deck.
That's what I thought
Well-
it was, but I don't know that
14
it's,
feet.
I don't know if
Can I-
it's,
Here we go. This is the perennial problem with trying to do,
figure it out without the applicant.
Do we want to hold for?
hold on, let me just make sure.
'Cause now
Okay, I
that
think, here
is-
we
that's
go.
it.
All right.
Yeah,
And this is the side.
this side, and
Okay.
that's the face of it.
Yeah, okay, so if you go to the second of the photographs in the back, that's this, okay, that's the existing deck. All right, and I'm gonna say that that existing deck is probably about 6 feet deep. Okay? 3-foot stair, 3 feet of extra. And what they wanna do is they wanna rebuild it, but they want to project out more to the tune of 14 feet. So essentially, they wanna make it like twice as, oh, now, okay.
6
hold
feet
on.
bigger.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, 6 feet bigger. So you saw the little dimensions down there that I didn't see until just now.
8 feet.
Takes me some time.
Approving,
This is an individual, it's one of the few individual
6
buildings on
Salros, I'll look it up.
Salros Road.
It's a
one,
beautiful
one
area.
Salros
And
Road.
it,
One, sorry.
I don't think
6
it's really
Pippins.
that big.
It's one Salros Road.
Yes.
This is the
Correct.
Right
address.
now, they have it saying it's 8, and they wanna extend it to 14.
Exactly.
This is, the first one is you come in Sauros Road on the right-hand side.
Yes.
And it's one of the few individual buildings that isn't jammed up like a
They want
bunch
to be
of
able to put a
warehouses.
table out there. and-
So it's quite visible. It's visible from the west, the south, and the east.
Is this deck visible, Diane?
Yes.
It is.
It's elevated.
14, second quite deep.
You know, we have a policy. I'm just gonna say we have a policy. And it's 8-foot extensions typically, and I kind of feel like this might be a tad excessive.
It looks, looking at the photograph of the deck, it looks like it's quite suitable
As it exists.
as it exists now. rather
Yeah,
than
but I
making-
think it is, like Ray said, only 6, because there's the stairway width, and then it looks like there's one more.
Right. So
So they
surely,
could go to
surely we
8
could
feet.
give them another 2 feet.
Make
But I
it
don't-
8 feet by whatever it is in,
Or should we hold
I
for
think we should hold
representation?
it for
Yeah,
representation rather
yeah.
than pass.
And, yeah, because they might not want to do that.
So
Right.
I'll make a motion to hold for representation.
That's a great
We look
Okay.
at it.
All those in favor of Christine's motion to hold for representation?
I, he's never gonna get
Okay.
it.
Now, we already approved the minutes, did we not? Okay. I think that's it, folks. Exactly, yes, sir.
I have a comment.
Yes.
I missed something up last week. I wanted to put it on there. I didn't do it in time. John, could you repeat that for next week?
Sure.
That I requested last week?
I don't have it written down. I have it written down at the office, so.
The hummock ponds.
Well, I want to add a second one. All right.
Okay.
Discussion of Hummock Pond Road development. as a private citizen, that can bring out and have a comment.
You know, well, we shouldn't talk about Hummock Pond specifically right now, but what I can tell you, John, is as a non-voting member, you are allowed, and I will recognize you if you want to say something about it. Even if you're not on the application, I will recognize you during the discussion. So we don't even need to take that up under other business.
Okay,
We
thank you.
can,
Okay, no
you know,
problem.
we'll take it up when we hear the application. Okay?
We have to,
Thank you, thank you.
Sure.
this is the application for a place that we have already made a statement about. So is that application going further and the same question will come back up again? Or how would he bring back a statement that was made but may perhaps not be true, but it's already been voted on?
Well, we haven't approved any.
We've got to be really careful
Yes.
because we are talking about a specific application right now,
Right.
which we're not supposed to be doing, okay? In order to do that according to Robert's rules, what we need to do, if there's any difficulties, we put it under other business so that it's properly noticed, so that anybody who's an interested party, you know, can feel free to show up. So, if there is any sort of additional information on a particular application, I won't say which one, all you have to do is contact me or John, and we can put it down, note it down under other business, and then we're good, because it will be noticed.
So
Okay?
he has noticed John, so John has noticed John.
Okay.
So
So
it will be on,
Or
Yes.
if a commissioner is a non-voting commissioner on a certain application, as long as they're recognized by the chairman to speak, you could offer any information.
That's what I was
as a
proposing.
commissioner.
And, yeah,
once we get it on the agenda.
right.
If it's an application.
When the application is heard again.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
other business.
Okay, can I have a motion from somebody?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.